On Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we turn from Occupy Wall Street and so many other cities in the United States, Occupy Oakland, Occupy San Francisco, we turn to Egypt. Yesterday, 2 policemen who beat a man to death in a case that led to Egyptians rising up in mass protests were convicted of lesser charge of manslaughter. The relatively light sentence and secretive nature of the trial disappointed pro-democracy activists who hoped their uprising had wiped out the corruption and injustice symbolized by the case. The slain man was 28 years old. His name was Khaled Said. He was dragged out of an internet cafe in Alexandria by police on June 6 of 2010. According to witnesses, brutally beaten to death on the street. Photos of Khaled Said's battered face, shattered jaw, and bruised body then went viral online, galvanizing people to campaign against widespread intimidation and killings by police under Mubarak. A Facebook page called We Are All Khaled Said helped organize thousands to protest police brutality and impunity. It was the administrators of that page who called for a day of protests against the regime of former President Hosni Mubarak January 25th. That protest turned into an 18-day popular uprising that helped topple Mubarak's regime. After Wednesday's verdict was announced, Khaled Said's uncle, Ali Qasem, told the Associated Press, "This case was like taking the pulse of the revolution. But the verdict tells us the revolution has been aborted. This is a signal on which direction the revolution is heading," he said. Well, for more on the verdict and much more on the developments in Egypt, we're joined by 2 prominent Egyptian activists, Ahmed Meir and Bassem Fathi, founders of the April 6 Youth Movement, which is the group credited with organizing the January 25th protests that eventually deposed Mubarak. Ahmed Meir recently visited Occupy Wall Street, where he and other Egyptian activists held a teach-in, and yesterday, Human Rights First honored Bassem Fathi at its awards dinner for his tireless work as an advocate for political freedom in Egypt, braving multiple detentions by the Mubarak regime. Ahmed Meir and Bassem Fathi, welcome both to Democracy Now! First, Ahmed, I mean, you're here as this verdict is announced in Egypt, but talk about your response and the significance of Khaled Said.
Khaled Said, I think it's a very important step to create the anger of Egyptians and make many Egyptians involved in politics and be aware about what happened from the police to Egyptian people. So it's a very important step and increase the movement against Mubarak and pro-democracy. So what happened in July 2010 was very important station leading for what happened in November 2010, then leading for what happened in 25th of January.
Khaled Said, those images that went viral online, he was in Alexandria. He had gone to post pictures in the internet cafe of the security police who beat him to death later?
That's true, because what happened with Khaled Said, because Khaled Said is not politician and not activist. He is like any guy in Egypt. So it was very emotional case that increased the anger inside Egyptian community, and there is many groups and many young people support the page of We Are All Khaled Said, because he's not a politician and killed by the police, and there is many days, every day we have something like that in Egypt, and no one talk about that.
Bassem Fathi, your response to what took place yesterday, to this verdict and what it signifies. Do you agree with Khaled Said's uncle saying this means that the Egyptian revolution has been aborted?
Actually, when I saw the verdict, I thought about only one thing: that if we are under Mubarak, the two policemen who killed Khaled Said might be totally cleared, and I mean, just saying that they are great and spotless and got nothing. I might got an award even, but we were actually expecting for getting a very strong sentence against them, not to be sentenced for 7 years. So I mean, from my point of view, this reflects the case we are in Egypt now. We are in amorphous situation, in the middle of 2 things, in the middle of our dreams and aspirations that we got after the uprising in January and February, and the bad situation that we were under Mubarak. This is exactly the case. It's something in the middle. Of course, our aspirations is getting a very strong sentence against them, but I believe if they were under Mubarak, nothing would happen.
Thousands of people who participated in the Tahrir uprising are being tried now, right? The number is quite astounding. Is it something like 12,000?
12,000 in general are in the military prisons. Hundreds of them, of course, are totally innocent, and they were just some activists or protesters here and there.
And they are facing longer jail time. A number have been sentenced than these two soldiers.
3 to 5
these
years.
Two security guards.
Yes.
Security.
3 to 5 years. This is very important. It seemed like it's intimidating for the activists. Before we got detained many times, but I mean, we knew that we're gonna have like 2 weeks or 1 month or even 6 months. But now, at least anybody that verdicted by the military court having 3 to 5 years.
Explain your detentions under Mubarak. Why were you detained and when?
First, I got detained, me and Ahmed, in 2008 in July. We just were protesting in Alexandria, by the way.
Singing.
Yes, we were singing somewhere. We tried to make a public event of singing and getting the people to celebrate.
What were you singing?
Some national songs against corrupt regime, old Egyptian songs, and try to make attention to the people to join us and talk with us about what we want. And there is many people try to know about who we are and what we want, but the police attack us immediately and arrest many people from movement.
So this was the first time. Then I've been arrested twice again. Once this was when there was a governmental orchestrated attack against the Al-Ghad party, one of the opposition party, and it got burned by the thugs affiliated to the government. And the third time for me it was when there is a massacre against the Christian Copts in Naga Hammadi, south of Egypt, and I've been there with many bloggers trying to pay condolences, and we've got arrested again. These are my 3 times, and many young people in Egypt got arrested more than that.
You know, you can be involved in social change, but never know when the moment will come. When I went down to Occupy Wall Street the other day, Ahmed, you were there, and so was Asma Mahfouz, also with the April 6th movement. I wanted to go back to the video that we played back in January. It was the recording that Asma made that was posted to Facebook January 18th, before the Egyptian uprising that went viral across Egypt and the world. This is just a clip of, well, now 26-year-old Asma Mahfouz. Her head is covered, but not her face, and she identifies herself.
I posted that I, a girl, am going down to Tahrir Square, and I will stand alone. And I'll hold up a banner. Perhaps people will show some honor. I even wrote my number, so maybe people will come down with me. No one came except 3 guys. 3 guys and 3 armored cars of riot police. And tens of hired thugs and officers came to terrorize us. They shoved us roughly away from the people. But as soon as we were alone with them, they started to talk to us. They said, enough, these guys who burned themselves were psychopaths. Of course, on all national media, whoever dies in protest is a psychopath. If they were psychopaths, why did they burn themselves at the Parliament building? I'm making this video to give you one simple message. We want to go down to Tahrir Square on January 25th. If we still have honor and want to live in dignity on this land, we have to go down on January 25th. We'll go down and demand our rights, our fundamental human rights.
What happened?
That was Asma Mahfouz. Let me ask you both. She posted that on January 18th. Did you know she was posting it? And did you know the response would be so great? As in many of the actions you had taken before, why this moment? Bassem? Ahmed?
Why this moment? Because this moment, we are working from 2005 to get more involved from the people to politics in Egypt and the whole movement in Egypt, and also to grow the hope in the people, because we need to change, and there is a moment which will change Egypt. So after that, the people are ready for change, but don't know when they can change. And at that moment, because many things, after corrupted parliament elections, after killed of Khaled Said, after explosion of church in Alexandria, after many tortures with the people from the police, and then what happened in Tunisia, that make the people so proud and want to do the same, like what happened in Tunisia. So there is many sparks lead to what happened to 25th of January.
However, on the eve of the revolution on 25th, I mean, on 24th, nobody actually expected that we're gonna have it that quickly. Actually, after what happened in Tunisia, the people in Egypt started to be ready, and the activists that we're gonna have a dramatic change, but not that quick. What happened that on 24th, we were planning for having a protest, a small protest, and got beaten by the security, then going back home again, like every time. This time, we just went to the street to find, I mean, many ordinary and simple Egyptians are joining us and starting everything happened.
Can you talk about the Supreme Council of Armed Forces singling out the April 6th movement, your movement? In mid-July, the Supreme Council saying your movement is driving a wedge between the army and the people. And then Asma Mahfouz was arrested for 2 tweets. Ahmed.
Because we didn't reform a political party, and we at that time we insisting on staying in Tahrir Square until really change in the regime and the government. So we thought we found that the military council make a statement against April 6 that we are causing trouble between the people and the army, and we taking foreign funding and have a training in Serbia, and that's all that rumors. And they tried to.
Did you train in Serbia?
Not training, but to build our movement, we must to get experience from many movements. Like what happened now in Wall Street, they asked us about the organization and
structure.
structure.
Wall Street?
Yes, they asked us, and also there's many people in Syria and Yemen asked us about our organization and non-violence strategy. So we asked the guys in Serbia about structure and their experience. It's not training by weapons. Like they show many photos with weapons and said that is in Serbia, and it's not true. So they try to cause trouble to April 6, and they don't like April 6 because they consider us as the troublemakers to them, and they want to reform a new regime. They can control it, and April 6 will annoy them. So they spreading rumors about April 6, and now we haven't any contact with them like before.
Do you think the Supreme Council has stolen the revolution? I mean, what about the upcoming elections? Now, the presidential elections, I mean, after the fall of Tahrir, you're talking about September. Now we're talking about not 2012, but 2013. Bassem.
It's very confusing. Many people asking whether the SCAF is confused because they don't have the experience.
SCAF is the
Supreme Council for Armed Forces, because they don't have the experience, or because they are senators. So the people, they are trying to stall the revolution, but yet it won't be easy. Because I mean, millions of Egyptians got engaged. This is the most important, the engagement of the people. However, the people now are not very happy with the case, especially the activists, because seemingly what's going on in Egypt now do not meet the dreams of the people.
You've come here to Wall Street. What have you found? The Occupy movement. You were at Occupy. You were in Occupy New York, Occupy
DC,
Wall Street,
DC,
and
yes.
DC as well. And you met with hundreds of Egyptian Americans in Washington, D.C. So talk about the Occupy movement and your Arab American meetings that have been taking place. What you're trying to accomplish, Ahmed.
At the first I was invited by Arab American and Egyptian American to many conference in DC, and I met with two places with Occupy DC, and they asked about our organization and our structure and our behavior and our tactics, and we gave them our experience. Also, that's happened also in New York, and we participated in march and day before yesterday. And also yesterday we have a seminar and discussion to talk about structure and groups and how to organize groups and how to attract more people to the sit-in or demonstrations and how to use non-violence.
And what are your answers to these questions?
I talked about our structure in the movement. And
what was your structure in April 6th?
Our structure is something between centralized and decentralized, like groups, decentralized, but there is a main group, have a connection with those groups. And also, overall Egypt, there is many youth groups, but they link it to each other like a network of groups, of youth movements. So it's our structure, and in Occupy Wall Street, they haven't a real movement and haven't really structure. They have open discussion every day.
The General Assembly,
I think,
which operates by
from my point of view, it's very hard to have any discussion. Very hard to have any discussion or any decisions. Because it's open session every day, so they must to join groups and reform groups and have a good connection with them. And I think they need to clarify vision and tactics first.
And your observations, Bassem, as you were here, and also what you spoke with Egyptian Americans about in New York, in Washington, D.C., right near the Pentagon in Crystal City.
Regarding the Egyptian Americans, we just want to the organizers here tried to make the Egyptian American close to what's going on in Egypt, to their homelands. Of course, the American Egyptians here are very strong support for democracy in Egypt if they want to support, whether financially or, I mean, by advocacy and lobbying here. So, I mean, this was the main purpose of the conference. And regarding Occupy movement, whether here or in DC, we are in April 6 movement and the activists in Egypt standing for very clear values, social justice and democracy and justice in general. So, I mean, we're going to support this everywhere, and let's say frankly that we're happy for finding the people trying to correct the pathway of democracy, even in the United States.
Are you thinking, Ahmed, of turning the April 6 movement into a political party?
There's many questions about that from the beginning, after the revolution, but we're thinking about that and decide to postpone this this step, because now our revolution didn't finish yet, so we must to keep struggle and keep fighting until we have real democracy and real country and a good regime and social justice. So we think that will take more than 5 years in transition period, so we must keep fighting now and didn't look to our interest or political party or parliament elections or candidates. That's our goal now, to finish or complete our revolution. Then we can think about political parties.
And Bassem Fathi, your group now is called, your organization now.
I'm working with many, actually. I'm not affiliated to any. I worked with April 6 for a long time, and I'm still close now. And I thought a lot about making April 6 as a political party, but really no, we still need such network. On the beginning of the revolution, I was advocating for it is a time for stop social movements and start to initiate our political parties, but seemingly now we still need to be there in this forum.
And finally, Ahmed, as you saw at the beginning of our broadcast, when you saw the young man on the ground who was shot, I mean, you dealt with many deaths. What were the casualties during the revolution? He is still alive. Scott was a Marine corporal, survived went to Iraq twice, came back, and was shot in the head by a police projectile. We're not exactly sure what.
It's like what happened in Egypt. I saw many videos about that and feel the same like Egypt. So I think it's a big mistake to shoot the people and use tear gas, because it will increase the anger against the government here, and it will increase and make the movements in the United States very strong. I think it's a big mistake to do that.
I liked actually a quotation you got from my speech yesterday with Human Rights First. Who knows that the police brutality will be a good strategy for recruiting? Yes, the brutality of the police, it is a very good strategy for recruitment for the movement, and I believe many people will support the movement after such a brutality.
And we also support the movement in Occupy in DC or New York and Oakland, so we will support that.
I want to thank you both for being with us. Ahmed Maher is founder and general coordinator of April 6th Youth Movement. Bassem Fathi will closely work with April 6th Movement and also a number of different groups in Egypt. They both return to Egypt now. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report, back in 30 seconds.